Welcome, everyone, to Hammer Time with Nikki and Kate, a disabled lawyer and a personal trainer walk into a podcast. And this episode is going to talk about self-care and self-love, what the definitions mean to us, what professionals are saying the definitions are, what are examples of self-care and self-love, why people tend to not do it, and then what are the benefits of it. So,
right. I'm really good at this.
She's my trusted sidekick. So we think it's going to be a really helpful episode to everyone out there who
needs a little
self-care and self-love, who takes a lot of time taking care of others. Maybe their children, maybe their elderly parents, whatever the case may be, their clients, their household, and then have nothing left over for themselves. So let's get this started. Sorry, Big Sean.
Go stupid.
And no, we're not calling any of you viewers
stupid
and listeners stupid. All right, so Nick, to start off, do you think self-care and self-love are basically the same thing, or do you think they're different? What do those terms mean to you?
Well, I think that self-care equals self-love, something that that we talked about.
Absolutely.
So with taking care of yourself, you're showing yourself and others how much you love yourself.
Absolutely. I
circle.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think self-care is one way to practice self-love. Obviously being more confident in one's body or skills can also be loving yourself. But the professionals seem to have a very interesting definition of self-love as opposed to self-care. So, Googling that is niche. Some of it seem to describe it as self-indulgent,
right.
Or kind of narcissistic, obsessive about oneself. But the other definition from the dictionary was a regard for one's own happiness or advantage. So, maybe setting boundaries for toxic relationships in your life, or making sure to vacation every year in your favorite spot, or, practicing sexual self-love. They're all different. They're all different kinds of self-love. But
get to loving yourself.
Hey, love all of yourself. We do. So let's talk a little bit about self-care now. So self-care, pardon me for the large verbiage, but it appears that some experts in 98 described it as any necessary human regulatory function which is under individual control, deliberate, and self-initiated. And then the very, very reliable Wikipedia said that this includes all health decisions people make for themselves or their family to ensure their physical and mental health. So, and including preventative care. So I think self-love it's a pretty broad definition.
Right.
But it can be, me as a diabetic, checking my blood sugar, someone with a heart condition, checking their blood pressure.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, it has to do with like what's gonna fill your self cup. They always talk about your cup being,
runneth over.
Yeah. Or how
half empty.
Yes. So you want to make sure that, what is going to, fuel your fire.
Yeah.
What's going to make you happy and full of energy and be able to take care of others better.
Or maybe just feel more complete as
Right.
yourself.
Right.
You know, not necessarily what society might expect from you, but what is going to make you feel whole. And it's interesting because, you know, I've talked to some people and they're like, oh, this is kind of, you know, self-indulgent. This is a new concept. But I looked it up and it seems to have been around since like ancient Greek and Roman times. So I think, in my opinion, I think that it has become more prevalent now because multitasking of, you know, burning the candle at both ends.
Right. Absolutely.
Because back in the day, they would, you know, sip on some vino, eat some cheese and grapes, call it a day after massacring some people. So, you know, I think other cultures, other countries, even now, have a better work-home life balance and really know how to take care of themselves. And it's not self-indulgent. It really makes you a better person, and it makes you more able to give back.
Right.
You know, I think in one of the European countries, they still take, like, siestas, like afternoon naps.
Yes.
You know, or extra long lunches to really enjoy life instead of speeding through it like us Americans tend to do. I had a philosophy class in college, and she made us go an entire weekend without any technology, like anything. You couldn't have lights. You couldn't have. I mean,
Okay.
cell phones were only for texting back in that day. No computer, no music, nothing, and you just kind of had to live.
Tough it out.
Tough it out. But it really helped you to slow down and think about hey, if I have nothing to do that involves technology, what's going to make me happy? What's going to fulfill my needs and my wants instead of just watching the boob tube.
Right. And I also feel it is what is going to make you a better person as well. Like,
Absolutely.
So I want to, you know, do this for myself so I am the best, you know, self that I can be.
Yeah.
So to say.
Best me I can be.
Best me.
Yeah. And you know what? So many people, while I was doing my law practice, told me to slow down. I'm thinking about it now. I think slowing down can be a form of self-care and self-love, because if you burn yourself out, that's really, like, how much do you respect and love yourself?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, so I've heard several reasons for people not practicing self-care or self-love.
Right, and I think sometimes mothers, we can feel like it's like you're being selfish, like you're not.
Absolutely.
Like, well, there's so many things, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, there's so many things that you could be doing instead of, you know, you could be doing laundry instead of sitting there reading a book or reading a magazine. So you feel as a mother, you're like, oh, like maybe I should be doing, you know, laundry and cleaning the bathroom. Right. Where if you just kind of sat down for 5-10 minutes and just maybe read a magazine or just took some time to, you know, meditate or anything, whatever makes you feel like you're gonna regain some more energy and make you feel a little bit happier. Or
yeah, and I kind of use the same excuse during my practice, and obviously it wasn't to take care of children, but it was to take care of my clients. And for me, it was more of a, well, let's compare. They're homeless. They are in risk of being imprisoned again, or, you know, they're facing multiple life sentences. They're facing public dissemination of all of their contact information. What's more important, that or taking a bubble bath?
Right, right.
I always did it as who needs it more? Who needs my time more? Mm-hmm. And the answer was never myself. But I think if I was honest with myself, I really did. Because, I mean, running the practice, I had 4 years where I had like 36 surgeries.
Yeah.
So
that is
a little excessive.
Yeah, right. A little excessive.
So.
And just a little disclaimer, this is off the little topic. So we are in my basement. That's why it looks
I know,
a little shady. And a little
I know
we're not
you're
in a
shocked.
dungeon. We're not in a dungeon. Or kind of like in a dungeon. And my children are still up, but my mother is upstairs helping me to try to put them to bed. So there is some screaming going on upstairs. But there is an adult.
Yes.
My mother.
Yes. There
Yeah,
there is care of others going on.
Right, so she's up there.
So pardon the
If there's some yelling.
intervening screaming.
Right.
Yeah, I think...
Sorry to...
No.
Just so they know that we're not, like, doing... Well, we are. We're doing it kind of in a dungeon.
Yeah. That's how I live my life.
Perfect.
In a dungeon.
In a
So,
dungeon.
yeah, and you know, I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, you know, women leaving the home and going to work used to be seen as self-indulgent, which is true. I mean, if you think about it, you know, mostly men, but sometimes women would look down upon a working woman, especially if she was a mother, because they're like, well, who's at home with the kids?
Right.
Do you have someone responsible? Do you have, like, why should someone who's not their mother raise them?
Right.
And so sometimes I kind of still see that a little bit. I still see even more from the women than I do the men of judging mothers.
Well, I think we all can judge, and you know, there are people who judge you for staying home, and there's people who judge you for going to work.
Right.
So, you know, I just feel it's just what is best for your family. So if for our family, it wouldn't work. If I went back to work, I'd basically just be paying for childcare. It wouldn't be helpful at this point in time. So maybe when the children, they go back to when they go to school, then maybe I can start, you know, going back to work.
Right. Yeah, it's all about your priorities and who are you, not you specifically, viewer, but who are you in general to judge somebody else and their priorities and what's going to work for their life. I think it's kind of presumptuous to think that, like, do you have your life figured out? Do you have your priorities straight that you can judge
Which we
somebody else?
all have nothing straight.
Right. We're all broken and in need of self-care and self-love.
Right. So back to self-care.
Yeah. So, you know, I think another excuse that I've heard and applied myself is, I don't have time for that. I'll just do it when I'm in retirement, when I'm older. Like, I can relax then.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know, I don't need to slow down now. What are you talking about? I have all this energy, which, viewers, watch out. Once you turn 30, it's all downhill. But I did that. I definitely did that because I was like, I could do this. I can work like 20 hours a day. Mm-hmm. Nothing's stopping me. Well, my body stopped me.
Right.
So.
And that's what happens. So I guess the toll you put on your body when you're, you know, younger, you think it does not affect your older coming body, and it does. Right. You know, the stress you put on, like with, you know, working too many hours, drinking too much, eating too much.
Yep.
Not doing self-care. So that's why it's
stress.
Too much stress. That's why it's important, and that's why we wanted to have this podcast, because self-care is so important. I think it's overlooked, and sometimes, as we talked about, it's viewed as you're being, you know, self-indulgent into why are you doing that for yourself when you can be doing other things for other people, like people you're supposedly supposed to be taking care of.
And that's, I mean, not to plug my upcoming book or anything, but that's what...
Plug it
away. That's what my book is going to talk about in large part, that I made the decision to go ham since high school.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted. There's, I think it's almost bedtime. Like, it's past bed. It's past
does
bedtime.
Not like that I went ham. She doesn't.
It's past bedtime, and they're all screaming.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on upstairs.
And E doesn't like it.
She doesn't like it.
She told me that.
Yep.
So, I went ham, and because I have a disability, I have multiple disabilities, I thought I was, like, indestructible, I guess. And it actually took me out of the game way earlier than it could have, potentially, if I had taken better care of myself. And yeah, okay, so there's, in self-care, yes, there's preventative medicine, there's acupuncture, there's massage therapy, there's a bunch of different things you can do with someone with an illness, you know, taking your blood sugar, making sure you give yourself enough insulin, that kind of thing. But I looked at that separate from the rest of the self-love and self-care and didn't even see it as being a valued thing. So, yeah, my horrible tumor on my spinal cord have come to take me out of the game anyways, regardless of how I worked, maybe. But I really kicked myself for trying to think I was Superwoman and could do it all, without trying to balance my life and my priorities just a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we all, not to, you know, make a general statement, but we can all put, you know, just put our body through, like, so many, you know, terrible things of years of just destroying ourselves, basically. And I think it's important to understand what you need as a person in order to, you know, be happier and have more energy and, you know, be better for other people that are in your life. Be better for your family and, you know, but most importantly, be better for yourself. And, you know, we all have different ways that we were brought up. So, you know, for instance, my mother said it was really important to, like, take care of yourself. And she was talking, like, you know, fingernails and toenails, which is, you know, that's something good. It's important. Like, your hair.
You feel good. You feel sexy, confident.
Right. Hair. You know, sometimes, like, if you're feeling down, like, maybe put a little extra makeup on. Mind you, I and my mother, we do not like makeup very much, as you can tell.
We're all glammed up.
Not really into the makeup.
In our best
or the hair.
Workout wear.
Right. So, yes, we're in our best workout.
Jelly.
Yes, we're in our best workout wear right now. And my toes are not on point. So, but usually, like, small things like that. So I always tried to paint my toenails and have my fingernails painted. So it's a silly thing, but it was something that always made me feel a little bit happier. And now, granted, some people like to get mani-pedis. I just never did. Like, I've tried it a couple times. We did it together.
Yeah.
It just wasn't really our thing. Like, so, but other women or men like to do mani-pedis. So that is, like, a small, like, self-care type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yep. And my mother always taught me to, like, take care of my body. She always said to move. She didn't really know too much about exercise, but she always knew to move. Like, we always just moved. We just cleaned a lot, or,
oh God,
you know,
you two are like
the lawn.
Fastest, most efficient cleaners I have ever met in my life.
We are super fast and clean.
You should open a home cleaning business.
No, I don't want to clean other people's houses. Don't want to do it.
Well, if you ever get tired of doing your own, you can come over and clean my room anytime.
I can't wait.
No, you know, and that's great. I think your mom really did you a service by having you always think about self-care.
Right.
Whereas and it's not to fault my parents, and I think a lot of parents do this, but, you know, they taught me to work hard and go after your goals, which I know your mom did too, but, like...
Oh, right.
I watched my parents and how hard they worked and how little they took care of themselves. And so I kind of mimicked that and then went to the polar extreme.
Right.
And did, like, no self-care. Mm-hmm. So I think and we'll get to it towards the end of the episode, but I think another benefit is to be a good example for your kids as to
yes, that's a great one. That's what
the
we
balance
have. Yep.
that you should have in your life. Mm-hmm. So let's just shout out to a couple of the examples.
Let's shout it out.
Shout it out. Look, what I think we've both learned is like you don't need a ton of time. You don't need to take hours on end every day, but you have to make it a practice.
And one of my, I guess, faults can be I feel like I don't want to do something if I can't do it like for like 100%. If I cannot spend 30 minutes self-caring myself, then I just don't want to do it. So I had to learn, especially after children, that you use those 5 minutes as well as you can. Those small little times.
As efficiently as you clean.
Yes. So you have to use those small little time slots to I want to say self-care yourself.
Self-care yourself.
Self-care yourself. Woo!
It really, you can find it at whatever time of day works best for you. You don't have to do it at the same time every day. But I really think that it's something that needs to become a ritual that you do. It needs to become like if you go get your morning coffee, you can do something in terms of self-care every day.
Right. And that, well, to get into it, but I guess I'll just get into it real quick. But so starting January, I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Shout out.
So I probably read it, almost a year ago, and I just couldn't follow it. And so then I said January, I said, let's try it out. So he talks about, getting up early and doing the savers, which are, you do silence, what is it? Silence, affirmation, something or other. So this is why when a video... Yes. Here it is, I got it. So it's silence, affirmations, and you can visualize, exercise, reading, and scribing.
Okay.
So and you can use, you can do it for 6 minutes, do each thing for 1 minute, whatever. So if you want to know more, just read the book. But what I do is I use that time to journal, and then I usually get up earlier than the kids, so that's usually 5:30 or 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. So it just depends. But I will come downstairs in this basement dungeon.
Where all miracles happen.
Where all the miracles happen. This is where it all happens, everyone. And I will sit down and then I write something that I'm thankful for. I read the Bible a little bit, and sometimes I will journal. It all depends. But as I was saying before, I have realized that you do not have to do a set ritual. You want to have, something set where it's kind of the same. But, if you can only come down for 5 minutes, you can come down for 5 minutes. If you can come, and sit for 60 minutes with your time, then that's all you have.
Right.
So that's how I made it a ritual. So I'm able to, I do the self-care each day.
That's great. And I think that's the most important part. Not necessarily that you do the same activity.
That's what I was trying to get.
Or, the same amount of time, like you were saying. But who doesn't have 6 minutes, I mean...
Right. But you think of it as 6 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you use your timer...
Right. Yeah.
6 minutes is pretty fast.
Yeah.
Or slow or whatever.
You could schedule it in your calendar.
Great.
The same way that you schedule other things. Or if you're someone like me who loves to cross things off a list once you complete it. So you're a boss. Then do that and put it on your daily to-do list and cross that fucker out. So I think that's great because you actually it sounds like you implement several examples of self-care that I've come across. One is praying to God or talking to God.
Right.
Or educating yourself about God.
Yep.
One is to really say what you're grateful for. And I think one example was to keep a gratitude journal.
Yep.
And every day say the things that you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be I saved 5 lives, I won $1 million. It can be...
Mine's I'm grateful for toilet paper.
Who isn't grateful for that?
Yeah. Who doesn't want a little toilet paper in their life?
But you can really do it about just tiny things hey, the person in front of me at Starbucks opened the door for me.
Right.
Held the door open for me.
Right.
That's something to be grateful for because some people are assholes and will let the door slam in your face. I love totally as an aside, I love that GIF, whatever, of when a person holds the door for a woman and she doesn't say thank you, and they like drag her back into the restaurant so that she has to open her own damn door.
Okay.
Because I get so, if I hold the door open for you, I'm not asking for your firstborn, but I am asking
for a thank you.
Little tiny thank you. Just a little thanks. Thank you. Anyways.
So how do you fit in your self-care now?
So
I know it's a little different because you're not
Yeah,
working
it's
as much
at all. Haven't worked in over a year now.
Right.
Which is killing me.
I know.
So I have nothing but time. But I really have restrictions as to what I can do with it. So in the past, like, Evans and I would go for a walk in the nighttime when it was a little cooler.
Exercise is a little hard.
Or I would rollerblade down the East Bay bike path, like through Barrington and Warren. That was the shit.
Loves her rollerblading.
I did, and now I can't. So we'll see after my spinal surgery next month. But what I have done is, especially because I'm having a very hard time adjusting to my disabilities, I have come up with some ideas through my counselor. You know, one is to meditate. Make sure you meditate at least 5 to 10 minutes each day. One is the only bit of exercise I can do is like 2-pound weights.
It's okay. You're still getting it. Nothing like your 400-pound squat, but you're still getting it.
Thank you. To do that, so I just feel like my heart rate's going up a little bit. And then listen to music without doing anything else, because I love me some multitasking. So without being on the computer, without being on my phone, without, doing anything else, reading, and just chill out to some nice R&B, usually from the 90s, because that's my decade. But those are the things that I do.
Right.
And it kind of lets me reset my mind. It lets me, all these things let me feel more refreshed, feel less angry at my body, make me feel useful.
Right.
Because being so active before and now being bedridden is very, very frustrating for me.
And that's great. And that's what we're talking about with self-care. Like, so those are the things that help you to feel refreshed.
Right. And it's going to be different for everyone.
Everybody.
And your capabilities are going to be different.
And your time restraints,
where you're located.
And what you like.
Exactly.
Some people...
If you're afraid of water, I wouldn't suggest hanging out by the beach. But, one thing...
Or taking a bubble bath.
There you go. Yes! Thank you, sis, for that assist. But, one thing is, like, going to the beach at night and sitting under the stars.
Right.
As long as it's safe.
But make sure you have your mace.
Other parts of the country, you don't necessarily need mace, but...
Just in case have your mace.
Yeah. So you could do that. You could even sit in the grass and watch the clouds roll by. I used to try and figure out what the clouds look like. Kind of like those ink blot tests.
Right.
What are they?
And they have those on Evelyn.
That Rorschach.
Yeah, she was watching a show about for little kids, and they were talking about what does the cloud look like.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a fake cloud.
Okay. Well, not
anyways,
authentic then.
We'll move on from there.
But it could be, every month you want to try and meet up with a couple of your friends, or another one in addition to that gratitude journal.
Yes.
Is really cool, and I never thought about it before. Keep a compliments file. So either write down or copy the nice things people say to you or about you, which is, I love that. And then if you're feeling down, be like, no, I'm a boss ass bitch. Like,
Because
I don't know
told
what
her.
I was thinking. Yes. My sissa dedicated Illest Bitch Alive by Wale to me. So
You're welcome.
thank you. Yes. It is my theme song. So I used to keep like a hat box filled with cards and letters from family and friends and suitors, and look at it from time to time. I'm not sure I have it anymore, but I think that's a great idea, because you might not. I tend to remember the negative things.
Right.
That's just how my brain works, and I think how a lot of female brains work. That you
And we hold on to it.
yes,
We hold on to that negative.
Forever.
Right. So don't say any negative stuff to us.
all points bulletin.
Anyone.
To all men out there, we never forget. Never. So choose your words wisely.
But I know a lot of things I have read about self-care. A lot of them talk about having a journal and write down what you're grateful for,
Right.
or just 5 things you're grateful for,
Yeah.
or just one thing.
Yeah.
That's what I usually do, is just the one thing. But I know that is just a common theme out of a lot of
Yeah.
self-care.
Or just kind of
guides, I
like
guess.
just kind of taking a step back and like noticing and taking in the world. Not to get all like deep on you, but one of them was like playing the I Spy game on your commute to work, and say you're stuck in traffic, and you see like a beautiful flower on the side of the road, or a nice looking tree,
Right.
or a robin, is sitting in its nest. Take in the beauty around you while you're angrily. Evans is like,
You're very angry today.
yes. Oh my god. I
Okay.
need to practice some self-care.
Okay.
No, but Evans said that I'm never like angry or aggressive except when I'm driving in Rhode Island. And he doesn't seem to understand that like that's how you have to drive.
Gets a little rowdy here.
Yeah, real rowdy. And we have to deal with the neighboring state massholes.
Ooh. But we love
you.
them.
Love you. Hate your driving. Love you.
But we can't drive very well either.
Well, no, yeah, or not. Yeah, we're pretty low on the list too.
So take in your surroundings.
Taking in your surroundings.
Just be thankful for the beautiful world around you.
Right. If it's your thing, you can go for a scenic drive. I've never really been one to do that. But
Yeah, I've done it like once or twice, but again, I guess it's just trying to get us back to just slow down and take a look at the world around you and things around you.
I know. I'm in this part of my life when I was forced to slow down. I've come to realize how much that is involved in the definition of self-care.
Yeah.
And I think that we're doing things so much faster, reading tweets instead of reading news articles, not being able to watch anything. You're probably not even watching this full episode. I'm just going to call you out and say
Or just scroll to the end.
Yeah. But I think it does us a disservice, because you're going to get to a certain point in your life and you're going to be like, holy shit. How much time did I waste? And especially, heaven forbid, if something bad happens to you that like shortens your life or shortens somebody else's life that you love, you're going to wish you had more time. You're going to wish that you didn't spend it freaking out over the laundry or, getting an appellate brief due or, any of those things. So you can do lots of things. You could volunteer. I always feel better when I've helped somebody else. You can flip through old photo albums if they still exist for you and they're not on your phone. I don't think it would work as well on the phone. I went through like my baby photo albums at my parents' house this summer to include in that slideshow for the awards dinner. And it was awesome. Like, I think I found photos that I had never seen before in my life, which is pretty cool.
It is. I know photo albums aren't as cool as they used to be, but we still have small ones for for the kids.
Good.
Just because I like to look at actual pictures. But I guess all of this, aside, and there's a ton of things you can do for self-care. And I think it's important to, yes, there's a great amount of things, but you have to fit it in your schedule. So you have to see what's going to be best for you. For instance, the morning, is best for me. I make sure that I get my alone time. So I'm all about, I like to have my time for myself.
Yeah.
And with the day gets by, and all of a sudden it's time to go to bed, and you do have time for yourself, but you're just so tired. So I like to be awake, and I like to, do that. And of course I exercise, but that's a little bit different for me. I guess it's self-care, but I count it a little, I guess, different. So, but
if you're a morning person like you and I are, then that works better for you. But if you have more energy at night,
and I
do
think,
the damn thing.
Right. And I think for you, Kate, it seems like what you're doing, especially now, is taking in your surroundings, like making so you're like self-caring all the time.
All the time. That's all I'm doing.
You're
really.
Self-caring all over the place.
Well, I mean, being taken out of the game so quickly and so early has made me obviously reevaluate things.
Well, because you loved your job.
Yes.
You loved your job, and you found value in your job, and that was your identity. So losing that, you kind of lost, like, so what now? So the thing is, it's good is that you're doing the book. Right. I think that's really helpful. I think it's great to get your story out there so you can help other people, and that's a big thing that with being a lawyer, you wanted to help people.
So that's a part of self-care, and my counselor pointed that out. Like, you got stuff out of your job.
You did. So that was your self-care. Like you volunteered a lot, so that's how you were able to care.
And that's more, maybe it was more about like self-love, because that made me feel good about myself.
Right.
So that was more about
like a whole nother episode.
My happiness. But really, if we're talking about like the difference between self-care and self-love, it wasn't very good care for my physical well-being, but it was great for my soul, because it really made me happy, and so it made me feel like a more useful person, which we won't get into.
Right, like I said,
the issues behind that. But one other thing that I realized the other day was I was watching the new Chris Rock stand-up, which is hilarious, called Tambourine, and also when Evans was here, rewatching the Dave Chappelle specials on Netflix.
Watch something funny.
So watching something funny, like feeling like it was almost like I was witnessing myself from outside of my body, and I was laughing so hard, like a genuine laugh, an obnoxiously loud laugh, by the way. But it was just so genuine and so pure, that laughter, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Right.
I feel so good when I just find utter joy in something. And so I think even if you just take the time to just read something funny, or, look at something funny, watch something funny, or just talk to your BFF, Sissa.
We're pretty funny.
Yeah, we're pretty funny. But
especially together.
We used to
this podcast.
We used to hang out and just listen to R&B and dance and drink. Yeah, that was really
pretty much
really cool.
That was it.
But oh God, I love I can't really dance anymore, but I chair dance.
I never really danced at all. So I just did it, whatever.
But just feeling free and letting yourself feel happy and almost childlike.
Just let it go. Like Frozen. Just let it go.
I'm sorry for all of you who have like Pavlovian responses to Let It Go because of how many times your children made you watch it. Right. I am sorry for that reference, but it had to be done. So let's finish up by just recapping a little bit of the benefits to self-care and self-love. So I'll take maybe the first few and you can talk about the last.
Sure.
So when I think one of the things that we can do, and especially when it comes to self-love and loving who we are and being okay with who we are and what we look like, because one of the examples that I'm not sure I would have the courage to do is standing in front of a mirror naked.
Ooh, do that. I do it.
And getting to, oh man.
It's a rough one.
Okay, all right.
Especially when your belly
Well,
is...
you don't, please. You look
beautiful.
I'm not gonna,
I was going to say, you look beautiful naked.
I'm glad you remembered.
You're welcome.
Just kidding. I think that can make you feel. Well, how do you feel when you do that? Besides sad. Like, does it make you feel more?
How do you feel? Besides really terrible. Do you feel anything else?
Well, is there any benefit to doing it? I mean, why do you do it? Do you? Does it make you feel more comfortable with how your body looks now after children?
Yeah, I guess so.
Or are you just ridiculing your body and looking at things you need to work on?
Both. So before I used to do it a lot because I had really low self-esteem. So I would do it and be like, I would tell myself, oh, these are the things that you need to fix and go from there. Especially being a trainer, you know, I would be very critical of myself. Yeah. And then when you have children, everything changes.
So maybe don't do that.
Yeah, so don't do that. So don't do that. So that's what I used to do.
Negative.
Right,
yeah.
You don't want to be negative. So now I look at, I'm not trying to get too loving of myself, but I look at it and I look at my body and I say, like, how awesome that I was able to create these, you know, two huge human
Isn't
beings.
That one of the pure miracles of life?
Right,
yeah.
and I nursed them until they were past 1, and that's like a very difficult feat, as especially, you know, I know those women out there that nurse their babies can understand, and I'm not saying that, you know, other women who haven't had children or have not nursed, you know, they can't look at their body as, you know, how awesome your body has done. So, for instance, Kate, you know, you have done, you know, even with, you know, diabetes, you have, you know, made some huge feats, like physical feats. And, like, granted, you're like, oh, my body is whatever you think it is. It's beautiful. But you have, you know, what are the huge, you've accomplished so much.
I appreciate
that. You know, with,
sis.
especially, you know, physically.
Yeah.
Where you were told that you were not going to be able to do a lot of physical challenges that you overcame as you did. This is just not where I'm just not saying it right. Just say it, Kate.
I appreciate it. And you can look at your body and admire what it's gone through.
Right.
For me, it's especially tough because of that third ass cheek I have on my back. So
that guy.
That guy is a motherfucker. So I had this big lump tumor on my back when I was born, and then at 4 it wrapped around my spinal cord. Then they took most of it out, and they filled it with fat. So I have this to support my back. It looks like a third ass cheek. It's right above my.
But who doesn't want some more booty?
More cushion for the pushing. But I never look, like my stomach never looks as flat as I think it would if my back wasn't so fucking big.
Right.
So it's always been hard for me to accept and love my body for how it looks in total. Like, I'm okay with some parts. Mm-hmm. Some I'm like, okay. But then, like, even
after the other ones we look at, we're like, oh, my chest.
Yeah, well, having
those guys are not where they're supposed to be.
When you've had children, or for me, I've had a lumpectomy, so I'm like, my best asset is kind of busted now. And then, like, the appendectomy, I'm like, oh, my belly button, it looks all scarred and nasty. It's got, like, a little caterpillar under it. But not to digress too much, but if you can do that exercise, I think it would be helpful to get more familiar with how your body looks, because sometimes we, like, look away.
Right, and I think it's just, you know, with the get naked and check yourself out is to show yourself, you know, it's okay and you're beautiful the way you are. And of course, we all have things that we want to fix. And, you know, it's, I don't know. I don't know if it's ever really going to go away for me. I don't think so. But, you know, it's just the point of try to accept yourself for who you are. And
it's a hard one.
It is a hard one. And that's with the self-love. So when you're, you know, I don't know what else to say about that.
But, you know, if you,
that's all I have.
If you admire what you have and what you bring to the table and start appreciating that, it doesn't mean you have to be cocky or conceited, but just love who you are and what you bring to the world.
And not to say we have it all together.
No.
Like we said, trying to
let this fool you.
Trying to get naked and check ourselves out is not, you know, and trying to get time to do self-care and to love ourselves has been years and time. Yeah. Right. It's really hard.
Yeah. But I think starting in on it makes us want to spread the word.
Right, and know that it is important, that we should take it more seriously than, you know, just saying, oh, I really should do this.
I should get around to that.
Right, I should do this more for myself.
No, make it a priority. That's what the bottom line, because I never made myself a priority before.
And that's, and then with the other thing too is then going into the benefits. You know, of course it you know, makes you a happier person because you spend more time on yourself.
Right. And so if you love who you are and what you bring to the table, then you're going to stop comparing yourself to others or, you know, society's expectations of what you should look like or be like. Then you can be a little nicer to yourself.
Right.
You can care less about what other people think or say to you.
Right. And I think that is a big one. I think that's a big one for me. Sometimes, you know, you kind of care too much what other people think. And even with, you know, going into having children, after having children, you're like, oh, you know, am I doing this right? Because there isn't a manual.
Right.
And
it's different for every child.
Right. It's different for every child. And also people, children are different. So not every child is the same. So you have like to do different things for each one. And then you're like, oh, well, you know, and even Facebook. So you're like, oh, should I be taking more pictures and posting those things?
Even though we're trying to broadcast on Facebook, shout out Facebook. Don't compare what you see on Facebook going on in people's lives to what you think their life is really like. Because a lot of that is smoke and mirrors.
Yes, absolutely. So that is...
I think it's hard for me too. I mean, like you've seen, I care a little bit less. I think
you do.
I don't give a fuck.
Right.
In most regards, but there are still certain subjects that I'm very sensitive on, and I think you know, having received hate mail, a death threat,
because of work, not because of who she, just because of the work.
A horrendous op-ed, you know, a conservative radio host bashing me on Twitter, you know, those things. I take those to heart.
Right.
But in general, I don't give a fuck, because
sorry, a little bit more of
sorry with
potty
the
language.
Sorry, forgot we weren't gonna swear, but
and we're trying to make it.
We all knew it was inevitable. Sorry.
Right. And we're trying to make this podcast a little bit shorter, so we're going to try to wrap it up soon.
So by caring less what others think, I think in turn you can also judge each other less, because if you're not receiving as much judgment, I think you'll tend to not judge others as much. And then obviously it can increase your immune system. It can lower your risk for depression and anxiety. I think that's why this self-care kind of craze has come about now, is because there have been so many studies that show to do preventative medicine or the long-term harmful effects of just operating under prolonged periods of high stress levels.
Right.
You know, you know, being happier with yourself can make you feel less dependent on somebody else for approval or love.
Right.
Which
kind of like being judged.
Yeah. And let me tell you, like, when it comes to a partner, let's
Go.
just say, I know I'm not a 10. I know I'm not like an 8. But
You are a 10 to me.
Oh, that's why I love you. If only you were male.
I know.
Being confident in who you are, not cocky, but confident and self-assured, is attractive as hell to others.
Right.
So if you just accepted and loved yourself, I think it would actually bring forth what you're looking for. You know, if you loved yourself more, you're going to get more love in return because somebody else is going to want to love you too.
Good point. That's a good
So
one.
it's kind of like if you love yourself less, then you're going to seem a little needy or desperate, and then less people are going to want to be attracted to you, or the wrong people are going to be attracted to you. So it's kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit. So if you love yourself more, maybe you can even be a little choosier about who you allow in your life, either friend-wise or significant other.
Absolutely. And that's going into, clearing out the toxic people,
Which is really good.
Yeah,
I'll testify to that.
in your life.
Yeah.
So, that's off topic. I think it's time to wrap this up. Like I said.
Yeah. But
Okay,
you feel refreshed. You
Right.
can give more to others. So if you really care about volunteering, if you're refreshed and have more energy, and can be more energetic for a longer period of time in your life, you're going to end up helping more people. Like, I went ham for in my career a little less than 10 years, and I helped like X number of people by going ham. But if I had just slowed down a little bit, maybe helped a few less people a year, I'd be in the game longer, probably, and in the end, I'd end up helping more people. So, it's all about, if it's all about a numbers thing, you can actually help out more people by taking care of yourself a little bit more.
Right.
And then, like we talked about, just being a great example for, those who look up to you, especially your children, or younger family members, because like we were talking about that last episode, our first episode, with that book, Love the Warrior, the author was talking about being an example for her girls and what should she tell them about being sexy or beautiful or
Right.
pretty, or what you should think about yourself or how you should treat yourself. And to me, it really resonated with how she was eating. Like, she was barely eating, and what are the kids thinking when mommy eats like air for most of the meals, So I think we've gone over a lot of stuff.
We have. We have gone over a lot of stuff, and I know it's a little long, and we thought we were gonna
It's
make
horrible,
we thought we were gonna make it a little shorter. So
can't help it, sorry.
with that, we hope that everyone can go out and self-love themselves, whatever that may be, and enjoy the world around you, and just embrace your family and your friends, and embrace yourself naked. Embrace yourself naked. So that's about it.
Yeah.
You have
So
anything
let's
else, Kate?
no.
Let's just
let's
done.
just say goodbye and
Goodbye.
thank you to our first
it's our first.
live.
Yeah, we didn't even do our makeup.
I
Like I
know.
said, we're a little nervous. Didn't do the hair, and
We'll
we're
get
in
ready
the
next time.
dungeon.
Sorry. But we appreciate any feedback that you could give us as to what you like about the show,
What you don't like.
what you don't like, and maybe suggestions for new episodes. Keep an eye out, because we'll always be coming up with new ones. And you can check us out on our website, our Facebook page, Tumblr, Twitter, Google+, YouTube.
You hit them all.
Let's do it up. So we'll let Big Sean take us out.
Hammer time like boy stupid, boy stupid, go stupid, do it, wait, do it, wait, do it. Like, boy stupid, go dumb
Chair dancing, I told you.
go stupid, I
Do
do
it for chair dance.
wait, go stupid.
Oops. No, it's
Don't
not.
be stupid. No, don't be stupid. Don't stupid.
The outro. We gotta go extra ham.
Wait. Go stupid.
Catch us next time. Thanks, guys.